Shalom. Today we are going to go to MoMA, the Museum of Modern Art, but we're going to go do it for free because we got our NYC ID. It comes with a whole bunch of benefits, one of which is you get a free year-long membership to like 15 different museums, and one of those is MoMA.
You also get like discounted Broadway tickets, discounted movie tickets, discounted college courses, like participating schools.
We'll put a link in the description so you can kind of check out all the benefits that you get from it. I don't even know what all of them are. The pamphlet that they sent with the card had the list of like 15 museums, and I really want to go to MoMA PS1. It's like their newest museum over in Long Island City in Queens, but it's closed today, so we're going to go to the original, the Mecca of MoMA. Under construction.
Always.
Hello. This is where we sign up with our NYC ID?
Yes.
Well, that was easy. Literally just showed up with our IDs and
they scanned
it and gave us a membership. So now we have free access to MoMA for 1 year.
Yeah.
And after the end of this 1 year, we can get half price membership, so it'd only be $70 for both of us to have another year.
Yeah.
Price Company Tower, Bartlesville, Oklahoma, 1952 to 56. Painted wood, copper, plastic, and brass. Constructed in Bartlesville, Oklahoma 3 years before Wright's death, the H.C. Price Company Tower is one of just 2 realized examples of the architect's seminal taproot construction system, whereby the floors are cantilevered from a hollow concrete core driven deep into the ground, not unlike the taproot of a plant. Wright had first experimented with this novel structural solution in his unrealized project for St. Mark's Tower in New York, but the taproot would reach its apotheosis in Wright's 1956 designs for a mile-high skyscraper that he proposed to construct in Chicago.
Drawings for the Rogers Lacey Hotel, an unrealized project for Dallas that anticipated the Atrium Hotel by several decades.
Wright got off to a great start in terms of his private practice. He starts in 1893 and immediately designs dozens of houses. Many of you might know them as prairie-style houses. But that phase of his career ends around 1909, and then after that, there's almost like 2 decades where he has very little work. You know, he's kind of struggling professionally. So this project is important in that it comes at this kind of low point, and he's trying to use it to reestablish his practice and his persona and things like this on a national stage.
Left MoMA and we're walking and we hear a large group of people screaming.
Probably someone famous.
So we're just walking that direction to see what is going on here. Turns out it was a Selena Gomez event in collaboration with Coach. And I think we were 1 minute behind like her being outside waving at everybody because everybody was like screaming and going crazy. And then by the time we got there, we saw people rushing to the door. But then after that, the cops
they were dispersing everyone.
The cops were basically telling everybody to leave and get off the sidewalk. It's a ticketed event, and if you don't have a ticket, you can't get in. So they just like push everybody out. I don't know. Never know what you're gonna run into. So we just got back from the Frank Lloyd Wright exhibit at MoMA. The Frank Lloyd Wright exhibit was really awesome. I feel like it was mostly awesome because I very much enjoy Frank Lloyd Wright's architecture and his design aesthetic. And the house that we lived in Tulsa was Frank Lloyd Wright inspired architecture. And the design philosophy of Frank Lloyd Wright was just to be simple and clean lines, and to utilize every single square foot for usable space, and to eliminate as much hallway as possible, for it to flow, for the materials to be one with the landscape around it.
Yeah, he was a firm believer in integrating nature into your home, or your home into nature.
I feel like if you don't know who Frank Lloyd Wright is, that the exhibit probably wouldn't be that cool, because it's mostly a lot of architectural sketches and not necessarily beautiful art. I mean,
it's not overwhelming, but if you're a fan of Frank Lloyd Wright, seeing his original sketches for all of his homes and things is, incredible.
My favorite part was the actual models that they had set up. The architectural drawings were really cool, but not being an architect, it's a little difficult to decipher some of them if they're not like straight up like kind of sketch renderings of the building. And so the models were really intricate and very cool.
Like they had the Price Tower in Bartlesville model, which was cool, and then the Guggenheim Museum model, which was the best. Mm-hmm. And then we learned all about the Little Farms project.
One interesting fact that I learned about the Guggenheim is because of the actual model, they figured out that the model had been painted over with white paint, and they
did some research and found out that originally it was planned to be, or right. it was beige.
And so they went back and figured out that the actual Guggenheim Museum was beige, and it had been slowly changed to white over a certain period of time.
And like they actually have the little color swatch that Frank Lloyd Wright approved, the beige color.
And he also explored it in like pink and orange marble.
The pink would have been so cool.
Yeah, definitely would have had a way different feel.
But can you imagine a pink marble building?
With it looks like that.
A Guggenheim pink marble.
Yeah. Frank Lloyd Wright was also very fascinated with utopias. Mm-hmm. So the Little Farm project was a version of a utopia project that he had worked on. And so it was essentially these small farms, just a couple acres, that were prefabs. And so it would be a large area that farmers would come in and do these prefab farms on a couple acres, and then there would be somebody else that would basically have the exact same setup.
They called it a tract.
It was like tract housing, but it was like tract farms. And they would have centralized sewers and centralized electricity and things too. So that way the infrastructure is a lot cheaper than coming in and doing your own like electricity, your own septic tank, things like that. But everything is prefab, so it's way cheaper than trying to figure out how to build your own farm. And everything was thought out to be the most efficient, even like the carts that you would carry your food with, and it had specific like beekeeping sections so that the bees would be there to pollinate. And basically it was a very well thought out farming system that multiple different types of crops could be used, and even like mushroom greenhouse built in.
And the whole idea was that all these farms would be like self-sustaining, and you would keep whatever you needed for your family, and then all the extra you would be connected to the same roads, and so they would drive it to like the markets, which wasn't a thing then. Like that was all new, and so there wasn't this idea of selling your stuff at a market, and it was right after the Depression, and so they were trying to figure out ways for farmers to recover their crops and recover their money, and it's just like a little communal living situation. But it wasn't a thing back then. It was all brand new, thought of ideas. It's kind of a shame it never came to fruition.
Lastly, one of my other favorite things that were there was a concept that was actually from Mies van der Rohe, which is my one of my other favorite architects, arguably I would say even more so than Frank Lloyd Wright. It was Mies van der Rohe's concept for a large expansive area with no vertical supports so that it's a huge gathering place. And the placard said, basically they were theorizing that because Mies van der Rohe was exploring wide, expansive places, Frank Lloyd Wright switched over to exploring vertical spaces, and so then Frank Lloyd Wright got obsessed with this mile-high tower. Nobody commissioned him to do it, nobody asked him to do it, but he like just started designing this mile-high skyscraper.
There were like 6 sketches there, like stages of the sketch there that he had done, and they're like really tall.
Yeah, the sketches were at least probably 8 feet tall.
Yeah.
And to put that in perspective, what's crazy is that he wanted to build a mile-high skyscraper, and this was like in the 50s or whatever. I don't remember the exact date, but it was a while ago. The tallest tower in the world in Dubai is only a half mile tall, and Frank Lloyd wanted to build a mile-high tower.
He was obsessed with it.
It's crazy. So if you live in New York City, definitely look into getting a ID NYC, and we're going to be checking out. We'll be going back to MoMA regularly. There's tons of stuff to see.
For example, next month they have a new exhibit called "Is Fashion Modern?" or something like that.
And as members, we actually get to see it like a week early for free.
It's totally worth it.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed following us to MoMA and hearing about our thoughts on Frank Lloyd Wright and architecture. If you liked this video, go ahead and hit the like button. And if you didn't know, we do videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And Sarah does videos every Thursday over on her channel. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.